Do you rock? Most people enjoy a good story. Imagine a story where you rock. I challenge you to make a difference in the world and then share your story to inspire, bring hope, and encouragement to others. Together, let us create a better, more peaceful world. Let's not just imagine world peace. Let's work for it. Are you doing something rocking in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, or the world? I would love to have you on my show to share your rockin' stories. We are here with Wendy Siemens, a visual artist and teacher. Welcome.
Thank you, Marion.
Well, tell us how you became an artist.
I come from a very artistic family, so there's lots of artists in my family, and 3 kids in my family, and 2 of us are artists. So, and my mother used to paint all night when we were kids. We just kind of got into that. Art was taken very seriously in our household, so if we were going to go into art, my father's only concern was, how are you going to make a living with that?
So how did you make a living with that?
Well, I became an art teacher, and so I actually have been the art teacher at St. Joseph High School. This is my 21st year, and before that I was at St. Mary's in Prince Albert. I've been kind of around the province. I'm on my 5th school division, 7th school at the present time, but I've been here the longest.
Well, congratulations, and I know that it's such an interesting career. So tell us a little bit about your career and what draws you to art.
Well, I'm the kind of person who gets distracted by shape and how things look, and so I'll be driving along and I have to watch because I'll get distracted by the shape of that cloud over there and the way that it's shining, the sun is shining on the leaves, and so I have to keep very focused because I'm constantly distractible by just nature and birds, and I'm always looking for quirky little things, how people move, and yeah, I'm always attracted to shape and color.
So your powers of observation are really astute, are they, and quite keen?
Surprisingly enough, you'd think that would be the case, but I know I did this painting of this horse, and I had taken all the photographs, and because I do a lot of animals and people and all that kind of stuff, and I was so enthralled by the beauty of this horse, a racehorse from the stables. And at that time I was just taking pictures of these horses and doing some articles about race horses and that kind of thing. And the vet that I was talking to was looking at the thing, and she's saying, I don't know, I was looking at those nostrils and I think this might be an issue here. And of course I was just going, am I missing the point here? Because of course I was looking at how beautiful the horse was. Irish Spark.
Oh, okay. Sounds like a beautiful horse.
Irish Spark.
Yes, for sure. So you just really pay attention. And you know, the interesting thing about art is so beautiful, and everyone has their own interpretation of art. So tell us a little bit about the paintings you brought in today. You have some beautiful paintings. What about the one behind you? How did you come up with that idea?
Well, this particular one, of course, I had actually prepared to do this quite a while ago. I had ordered the paints from Germany. I'd ordered all of the artistic foils to do this kind of thing with. So these paints are all special paints, and they come in little jars that look kind of like shoe polish. So they're kind of difficult to use. And all of these foils are glued down one layer at a time, and then you have to create the painting on top of the foils, and they're all held down by artistic medium. So it's actually quite a messy thing to do. And then when you look, there's some glitter and stuff in the paintings themselves. I was starting to work like this to do a bunch of these kind of paintings, and I still plan to do a lot more of these paintings with trees and rocks and that, you know, showing a little bit of glitter, because I'm always attracted by things that sparkle and shine.
Me too. It's beautiful. It's called gold.
It's metal leaf.
Oh, metal leaf. Oh, it's so beautiful.
So it's copper, silver, and gold. Yeah.
So do you do it from a picture or just from your...
Well, I do some of these things from pictures, because I take photographs all the time, and some of them, you know, because it's not about how accurate that is. It's not about perfection. It's about how it goes together as you feel it going together. And you know, when you look at some of the photos that I work with, they're about this big, and they're all blurry and they're out of focus and they're on black and white, because I find it's easier for me to be creative when I'm using something that I can be creative with, as opposed to saying, oh no, that's not quite right, I have to be more perfect over there. So I find if you want to have something that's a little bit more spontaneous, then I still plan for success all the time, and I still do the drawings, and I still plan my color schemes out. And I find when I work with black and white photos, then I can plan a color scheme out more accurately for something that works for me and for the integrity of the show that I'm doing than to use colored photos.
So as a visual artist, do you prefer a medium, or do you prefer, acrylic paint over oils, or you just, because I see you do a variety. You do nature, you do people.
I do.
And often an artist will pick one sort of genre, if you might call it that. But for you, you're very eclectic. You do a lot of things. So.
Short attention span. That's what does that. This little painting here of the Irish National Forest is in oil.
Okay.
And that's from a photograph that my daughter took, and the photograph itself is extremely blurry, but I like that part. And a lot of these other ones are acrylic, just because it's faster to work bigger in acrylic, because you got to wait for oils to dry. So, like oil, acrylic, it depends on what you're going for. Some of the acrylic paintings, like you can finish those in a couple of days, and with oil paints, it might be months, even years in between.
Really?
Because you got to wait for all those layers to dry.
How long does it take to dry for layers?
Sometimes it can take 2 to 6 months for a layer to dry.
Really? Holy.
Depends how thick it is, and if the paint's really thick, it may never ever completely dry on the inside.
Oh, that's very interesting. I've learned something today about. Did not know. So, what kind of training have you had, or obviously you went to school and you're a teacher.
Well,
but
I have a degree in art, and then I also have a background in English and special education, and I've been the art teacher for a very long time. And of course, in that time, I've learned how to do airbrushing, and I've learned how to do photography, and I've learned how to use all the Adobe programs and the graphic arts programs, because being the art teacher isn't all that I do. And I've learned how to use a pottery wheel and how to do all this ceramic stuff. And because kids they don't come and they show them how to paint, show them how to draw, and they'll be interested in that for, I don't know, maybe a while, but they want to do something more. So I've learned how to do wire art. I've learned how to do batik. I did an awful lot of batik at one time, just because I enjoyed using the hot wax and the cloth dyes. I did huge paintings using batik, because it was something you could do wall hangings for churches out of, and so I'd done quite a few of those kind of things. Other than that, no, that's about where I end. I've been wanting to learn how to wood carve, but at some point you're just going, what are you going to work on now?
So you take your inspiration from wherever, and you're a lifelong learner about art and life, and you can see you just bring it to your work.
Absolutely. And I find I learn an awful lot from my students.
Okay.
And strangely enough, it isn't the truly, you're always going to get the absolutely mind-bogglingly talented kid who can do realism extremely well. But I have special needs kids, and they of course see work in their work is a more abstract quality. And I'm always pleased to see how they progress because you'll have these same kids for years upon years. Like some of them I've had for 8 years. So I've been able to see where they started and where they're ending now. And you can see how they've been pushing, shape and color, but their work has definitely been progressing. And I've been taking some inspiration from the abstract quality of their work to apply it to some of my own work and enjoying my own work more because of what they do themselves. And they're so proud of it.
Oh, and you should be proud of your work. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I see you have quite a few books here. You're a children's illustrator too. So talk a little bit about that and how that process is and some of your work that you've done there.
Well, some of these books you wrote yourself, like this one and this one. The Bubba's Babushka. I was lucky enough for you to ask me to do 2 of these. So these are the first 2 in that series, and then you had other illustrators for the other ones, which is great, right? Because you just recently had one about a Métis
Kukums
fam.
Babushka.
Yeah, that was a beautiful book, and I watched that episode. Actually, I was very pleased to hear that.
It's a beautiful. She did a
It was
beautiful
a
job,
beautiful
but you did
job.
a beautiful job of these books too, and your other work
And
here.
these ones here are by an Iraqi man called Majid Dermichelli, and he was talking about persecution in this one, but using horses as a metaphor. And this one here was about his daughter when she was young, and how they moved to this country, and she was just so very lonely. And so that's what those 2 are. And in this one here, like, I grew up across the street from St. Gerard School, and so the street in the back of one of these is actually that street, the street that I grew across from. So there it is. So that actually is what it looked like. There's Ottawa, where I grew up, Ottawa Avenue, and there's the school rink that I grew up on. So I used a lot of the illustrations, had a lot of background from my own childhood growing up.
Well, it's kind of like writing. They say you should write what you know, so maybe art is kind of the similar thing. You draw what you know or experience, is it?
That's right.
Yeah. So do you have some advice for people that are wanting to become a visual artist?
The biggest thing I would say is to keep a sketchbook. I was just talking to a woman at the farmer's market, and she was talking about how she was going from these German designs, like it's like that decorative art, and she was having difficulty getting started on her own designs. And of course, we always want to plan for success. So if you keep a sketchbook and you draw out your ideas, they don't have to be amazing drawings. It's not about perfection. It's about trying to explore something that you want to explore in a creative way. And sometimes that can be just shapes of color, and sometimes that can use a little line, and sometimes it'll use a little texture. But definitely be open to what you yourself like, and look for inspiration.
Well, you have inspired me, that's for sure. So thanks for being on our show. And if people want to get a hold of you, do you have a website that they can talk about art or see your art?
Well, I have a Facebook page, of course, and I have wendysiemens.ca. I've got a website, and of course, they can always find me at the farmers market, because I have Siemens artwork down there at the farmers market. I do a lot of commission work.
Okay, well, great. Thank you for being on my show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Very kind.
That was Wendy Siemens, a visual artist.